Gone are the days of the old school salesman. No more matching intonation. No more taking one of the words they said and using it back at them in order to manipulate them and get an edge in the conversation. No more of the weirdness that we were taught in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, right? It's still being taught today, though. That's the crazy thing, right? But something else is on the brink today, and that is the reality of what sales truly is, which is the building of relationships. And there's so many different ways to build relationships in the world of sales. You can build relationships in person, you can build it over the phone, you can build it on Zoom, you can build it on social media. There's so many different outlets. You're probably wondering, Brandon, what does building a relationship and relationship selling actually look like in the 21st century? And how can it help me? Well, we're going to talk about that today with relationship expert and sales expert herself, Jackie Joy. But before I introduce Jackie and tell you all about her and her copious years of experience in the sales world, there's only one fee for the Be Better broadcast. The only thing we ask is that you share this show with just one other person, only if you take something of value away. We're not going to show you an ad. We're not going to show you a sponsor. We're not going to do that because they're annoying. Right. And we've only grown the way that we've grown because you are the best part of the Be Better team. So thank you so much for sharing the show when you take something away. Without further ado, let's talk about relationship sales with Jackie Joy herself from Selling from the Heart. Jackie Joy is a highly accomplished sales professional, sales leader, and a certified executive coach with over 2.5 decades of experience in various industries. Her long-term vision is to transform the sales profession into a community of trust, authenticity, and credibility. And she's passionate about raising the bar on how people perceive the sales role by showing its positive impact on society, business, and the people in it. Jackie, it's great to have you here. Thanks so much.
Thank you. That's exactly. See, we're done the podcast because now you've shared everything that I'm about.
So tell me about that. So when you say people are unaware of the benefits that sales brings on the society and on people, like what are the benefits and the impact it's creating that we're not thinking about on a daily basis?
Well, too many people are self-serving, for one. So when they're thinking of talking, communicating with people in sales, their clients, their potential clients, they're thinking of in the back of their head how it's going to impact their life instead of how can I impact your life? How can I bring my best self to the table and put you in a better place than what I found you?
Mm.
And too many salespeople are thinking, I've heard it time and time again from salespeople going, well, I don't know how to begin the conversation. Well, the reason why they don't know how to begin the conversation is because they're thinking of the end.
Yeah.
I want that sale. I need that sale. I need to put money in my pocket. And yes, we do. I mean, we're not in sales to go broke. But what the disconnect is if you build that relationship, gain that credibility, you're going to be so much further along than just the way I call it is smoke and mirrors training.
Mm.
Is that you're trying to manipulate the conversation, how to get them to think in the way you want them to think instead of, hey, what's important to you? What would it mean to if? And asking them questions and being an active listener.
Yeah.
Most people think sales is all about talking.
Mm-hmm.
Sales
Talking
is all
at
about
them.
listening.
Yes. Yes. I learned this the hard way. And I remember when I first talked with you, I immediately heard that you understood that relationship sales is the only way to go about it. And I'm curious to know how you came about that yourself. But to start, I'll talk about how I came about it. So I learned it the hard way. I worked every day with an individual, and I was selling much more than this individual. This is like the first 2 years of my sales career. And we worked in the same store. We had the same clientele, same types of people coming in the door. And at the time, I was earning about $6,000 every single month in commission. And this individual was earning about $3,500 every single month in commission. And he spent so much time with his customers. Like he would spend 2 hours with somebody when it would take me 45 minutes to work with somebody and get the next person at my desk. It was retail sales and help that next person.
Yeah.
And I kept saying to him, hey, you got to speed things up, right? Like we'd give him nicknames like his last name was Miller. So we always called him Miller Time, right? That's like the beer commercial. And he would laugh and he was a cool guy about it, right? But he's like, I'm building a book of business here. He's like, I'm not looking to churn and burn people. And I was like, okay, man. I said, my customers love me too. So they're going to come back to me. But then a year goes by and more of his customers are coming back in the door. Like in droves walking back in. I'm here to see Sean. I'm here to see Sean. I'm here to see Sean. And I'm thinking, I am just like looking for new business, which is very important. And Larry talks about that in Selling from the Heart. Like you got to keep looking for new business, even when you've got years and years of, customers and client base, you still have to prospect. I was only prospecting. He was capitalizing 80% on past customers while still getting new customers, but he was so busy with his current clients that kept coming back to him year after year. And I was still making six grand, $7,000. He starts working 3 to 4 days a week. I was working 5, and he's making the same amount of money working 2 less days than me. But his job was so much easier. And I said, Sean, how are you doing this? And he's like, Brandon, remember 2 years ago when you started making fun of me for taking a long time with customers? He's like, I was building a relationship with them. So I learned the hard way that relationship selling is the way to go. Was it the hard way for you, or did you have mentorship or guidance that said, Jackie, this is how it works?
Just my natural intuition, to be quite frank. I've been in actually many different types of sales. I've been in retail sales. I mean, I've actually worked for a tobacco company. My hardest type of sales was I sold radio spots. You're selling air. Here, buy air, and it's going to increase your foot traffic that's coming through the door. So I mean, I've been in not pharmaceutical sales, but I've been a pharmacy technician. So I've just done so many different types of sales. And of course, my last was 9 years in the insurance space, which is a very difficult type of sales. One, the competition out there is, through the roof. It's technically really boring to sell insurance unless you make it interesting. And to me, because I was a stay-at-home mom also for years. So you're always reactive to the needs of your children. So that's kind of where I learned sales in some aspects, because it was important to listen to their needs, pay attention to what's going on. And I went and brought that into the field of sales to find out, even when I started in the insurance space, the way that my cohorts were being trained, it didn't sit well with me. So I went to my customers. After I spent time with them, whether I sold them or not, I went back to them and said, your advice is very important to me. Although we're not doing business together, could you share with me where I lost you in the presentation? Was it something I said? Was it something I did? How could I have made this better for you? And my customers actually taught me how to communicate to them.
Wow.
So, and most people don't have their little ego that talks in their head. Most people think, that ego is, oh, I'm just so great and awesome. No, the ego is that little voice that, has conversations daily inside your head, trying to steer you in the, let's protect you and be safe. Oh no, don't go talk to that customer and ask them those questions because you might hear things you don't want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that, there were things that, I might, but it made me a better person. And it also made me stop and pay attention and listen and ask better questions of, hey, what's important to you? What would you feel if this happened? What would you feel if that happened? How would this impact your world and your day? When you ask those type of deeper questions, you're not going to get that surface level conversation that too many salespeople have. They hear like one little challenge and is like, oh, I've got the best solution for you, blah, 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 blah. And then they go on. Instead of sitting back going, so if you receive that, is there anything else that you have a challenge with? And then just asking deeper, deeper questions.
Yeah.
So that's how I did it. I mean, it was very natural and intuitive for me, but it wasn't without, some struggles along the way and
Yeah.
having learned to overcome them. How can I do better? How can I put and that's one thing that I always kept in mind, even though I've had leaders too that it's like, you have to make 300 dials a day. For me, I always went, I heard them. It was kind of like when, growing up, went in this air, out that air. But in my world, it was, how many people can I help today? How
Hmm.
can I put them in a better place than how I left them, how I found them? And when you have that kind of thought, it's not self-serving. But what it does, and like you said about your friend, your income grows exponentially because you're building that relationship. You're creating, I mean, I've had customers goes, I trust you. You pick the policy for me. And I'm like, oh, no, no, no. I don't do that. I appreciate the compliment, but we're going to build this together.
Yeah.
You know, so, and plus you can't do that anyway, a lot of laws, but
Sure.
um,
That's a testament to you, though, and the relationship you've built with them.
and it makes you feel amazing when someone goes, I trust you with my family to protect them.
Yeah.
What better compliment?
That's the greatest compliment.
Yeah. So, but it was all about listening and learning and asking questions and understanding where they're, because everybody, even though they're the same policies, everybody thought of insurance in a different manner.
Yes.
So no matter what your product or service is, not everyone is going to think about it in the same terms.
It
So
reminds me, I love what you said, many things there that I want to dive into with you because you said a lot of important things there and we can't just breeze by them. So the first thing is when you say when the mindset is I don't want to just make 300 dials today. I want to just see how many people I can help today. I want to pause with that and just say that I've experienced this in my own career too, especially 4 or 5 years into my sales career. I started to realize every single day I have this same anxiety in the back of my mind of how much money am I going to make today? Because I was 100% commission, right? I had to go out there every single day and get it done, just like many people listening right now, business owners, entrepreneurs, insurance salespeople. Like I worked with a lot of people with Aflac, and they're not getting paid if they're not bringing in business, right? And I would constantly think to myself, I hope I see a lot of people today. I hope people pick up the phones today. And I realized I can't control that. The only thing I can control is my activity. It's the only thing I can control. But I also realized that my stress and anxiety went way down once I started saying to myself, you know what? I'm just going to do my job. I'm going to put in the work and I'm going to do my best to serve every single person today at the best of my ability. I knew that if I did that and if I served them and did the best that I could for them, everything would pay off for me in the end.
100%. And I want to touch on something else, commissions. Now, when I started with the insurance space, I went to 100% commissions. I was a single mom with 3 kids, and I had no backup plan. It was succeed or lose your house. So, and you have to really know who you are on the inside. And am I going to be just trying to use the leads that the company gave me? Or am I going to try to build relationships with those around me and really go forth and do good, And that's exactly what I did. And within a year, I doubled my income from what I was living paycheck to paycheck with the job that I had before. So, for those of you that are afraid of 100% commission sales, you have to know who you are as a person first.
Mm,
If you know, like for me, I was not going to let my children starve and I was not going to lose their house that they lived that they were brought up in. So that was my desire to make sure I helped enough people get what they need so I could have a better life for me and my kids.
yeah.
And so many people just get so nervous. I've seen so many people walk away from sales because of one, the training, and two, because it's 100% commission. Although it's the best type of job ever is sales.
Hmm.
If I
And
did
they
it
say
all over
something.
again, I would do the same thing.
Yeah, and because you believe in yourself, I think that's a giant prerequisite. And I'm sure there's been other events in your life that have helped to build that belief in yourself. Because I remember training and having a bunch of new hires come in when I wasn't new hire sales trainer, and a lot of new people, between the ages of 18 and 25, said, I'm just not a salesperson. Sales isn't for me, right? I can't do 100% commission. I want certainty. I want the paycheck. And it's likely because maybe they didn't have kids, maybe they didn't have the house, maybe they haven't gone through challenging situations before where they believed in themselves. But I'm guessing that you encountered struggles like that in your life that said, hey, I've done difficult things before. I can do this. I know that I won't fail. Is that something that you think was instilled in you from your parents or your family, or have you always been like that?
Well, we struggled as a family, growing up. Um, we were on food stamps when at some points my father had gotten laid off. I'm one of 6 kids. And we had some struggling times. So, but I didn't want that from my children, to have to deal with that kind of, embarrassment or, being a state raised kids. And no, not that there's anything wrong with it. I mean, people do need help sometimes, but it's whether you stay there or whether you move yourself up out of it, and
Mm,
whether you take those experiences and help others to get out of it. Like one of the things that I would love to do is have new people that are coming into sales. I've seen too many people walk away from sales either because it's commissioned or it's because the training doesn't feel right inside of them.
hmm.
So they don't know how, and then you're also taught, like, here's a script, Brandon. Just go read it. Okay, so now you're not even sounding human. So you can't have that engaging conversation back and forth, nor are we taught how to have engaging conversations back and forth. And I think you and I talked about that before. From the time we're in kindergarten to college, we're having a teacher speak at us, and you can only talk once someone asks you to talk back to them. And then you get out of college and go communicate, go have a conversation back and forth, but no one teaches you how to do that.
Yeah. You're
Nor
not taught to collaborate. You're not taught teamwork. You're told not to look at someone else's test as you're taking it. You're told not to share answers. Like, it's crazy how we're indoctrinated since a very young age in this certain way of living. And then, like you said, we're in the real world now and we don't have these actual real skills that are going to help us.
Right. And then when you have someone that is very successful in sales, because of what you just said, we're taught not to share
Hmm.
answers and how we got there. So now they'll tell you just half of what they learned instead of, here are all the steps for you to be successful.
Yeah.
Go be great.
Yeah.
There's always something that's held back.
Yeah. I want to ask you specifically too, like especially when you moved into the 100% commission world, insurance, you talked about making a quote unquote boring product interesting, right? And I think that's really important. I want to touch on that, but I also want to ask you, I know there's people listening because this was me back then who are likely saying relationships are great. Like I definitely see the value in them, but I also need to put food on my table now, right? I need to pay the bills now. I can't focus on just building, 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 and then in 6 months asking for the sale and getting the sale and helping that client or whatever it might be that they sell or offer. How did you balance the building of relationships while also realizing I have to provide for my children and continue to pay this mortgage? Like, how did you balance the two of those?
Well, I think there's a misnomer that building a relationship with a customer takes months and months and months of time. You can build a relationship. Well, look at that first conversation.
Yeah,
Felt like we knew each other for a long time.
true.
And that's what happens if you are truly engaged with the customer. You truly want the best for them. And they can tell the difference between being BS'd or someone is really genuine on what they're saying. Most people think that, oh, I can just say the part and they'll not know the difference. What people don't realize is the energy around you speaks volumes.
Wow.
So your words could be saying one thing, like all the best proper things, but if you're not feeling it, the energies around you, that customer is going to feel it by vibration, technically.
Yes.
So but if you are coming at your customer with trust, authenticity, credibility, wanting the best for them, to put them in the better place, they are going to see and feel the difference. So you can get that sale right away. I mean, I did a lot. I sold a lot on, my first time meeting them.
Yeah.
There was sometimes that they wanted to get it and I'd go, but I'm feeling a little hesitation. Let's do a next step for getting back tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Now, most trainers would go, "What are you, nuts?
Mm-hmm.
Sign it while they're hot." But they weren't 100% there.
Yeah.
That would have been someone that had buyer's regret.
Mm-hmm.
So why go through the whole process?
Yes.
People have to learn to identify those steps. And when someone wants to take time, I get it. I am not a one call close type of person either. I know that about me. So I pay attention to see if that person is really wanting that or if they're feeling like they should get it because they need to get the insurance or get the product.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to go through the whole process if you know they're going to have buyer's regret.
100%.
So it's paying attention.
It's important to realize too that these things come very natural to you because you've been doing these things a long time, and they were natural and inherent to you, but they were not natural and inherent to me. What's
Right.
always been natural to me has been curiosity. And I think curiosity is one of the biggest reasons why I've been successful in sales, because like you mentioned before, don't just ask one question, hear one struggle, and then offer your solution like, well, I've got the perfect thing for you, right? Like I dug deep because I actually wanted to know more and I actually wanted to have a full view of the situation. But some people are, especially the step-by-step task-oriented people who are listening right now, especially in a very social media type world,
Mm.
it can be difficult to, especially if you're someone who's, let's say, doing LinkedIn outreach or you're doing email outreach where it's very cold. You don't know the person. There hasn't been a warm introduction. Is there a process that you follow when it comes to building trust with a new client? And could you give us a glimpse of what that process is, even though at this point it's likely that you just do this automatically?
So I do, but it's also been kind of I've trained myself to do it automatically at this point. So you brought up LinkedIn. So and yes, one thing that I would not do is, just send a generic message. Everything has to be personalized. So even though I'll give you an example, just last week, I reached out to someone I had no idea because I know that they're my ideal client, so it's someone that I want to talk to. But that person, how I reached out to them is they were also connected with a gentleman named Don Barden. He wrote a book called The Perfect Plan, which is, other than Larry Levine's Selling from the Heart, which is my favorite book, that's my second favorite book, is The Perfect Plan. So it was, hey, Sue, notice that both of us are connected with Don Barden. Did you read his book, The Perfect Plan? I loved it. Would love to know what your thoughts are on the book. Now, I didn't talk about my product, didn't talk about my services, didn't talk about anything else other than that.
Mm.
So she connected back. Would love to have a conversation about the book. So that's the beginning. It doesn't always have to be about your product. It shouldn't be about your product. It should be about them. What are they looking for? So that's just one example. We might have the same connection. Another one would be, and I'm staying with LinkedIn for right now, I happen to notice that their step in their businesses was kind of like, in my brain, a huge disconnect. Like, how did you go from this industry to that industry?
Yeah.
Because it was, I mean, I can't remember the two industries right now, but it was like, in my mind, going, I don't even know how you got there, because I'm looking at their education. I'm like, how did you even get there?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I connected. Hey, Joe, super curious, would love to connect with you. Would you be open to a virtual cup of coffee? Notice that you went from this to this, and I would love to know your backstory.
Cool. Yeah.
And it's just a human being curious about another human being. And what do people like doing? They love talking about themselves. I don't, but most people do. But and we connected because it wasn't me going. I actually schooled some girl the other day. I was just getting, it was some video company and asking me all these, about reaching out, and you would be perfect, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, did you read my profile? Do you
Mm.
have any idea what I even do? I teach people how to build relationships in sales. You don't even know who I am or what I do.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I don't usually do that, but it was like, I mean, I had gotten like 4 or 5 messages from her. It's like, so it's no wonder why people get irritated at salespeople, because we're not trying to find out who they are and solve their problems with them.
Yeah.
We're assuming we know what their problems are and taking it from that aspect.
It's such an icky landscape out there in some ways. Like, as an example, I got a message the other day right after Bill McCormick's LinkedIn workshop. Bill literally said, before I got here today, I got a message from someone that literally said, hey, I looked at your profile. I love seeing what you do. And they didn't even look at my profile, he said.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm just curious, what about my profile makes you say that you're so impressed with my work? And the person never responded. And it's funny because that night, I kid you not, that night I got this message from someone. Nice message. It was, hey, Brandon, I'm impressed at what you do in the world of coaching and everything else. Congratulations on your success. And I'm reading it and I was like, oh, this guy seems pretty cool, right? And I looked at his profile. It's clear he's got something to sell, right? And then I looked at my profile views and he didn't even view my profile. I was like, come on, like at least view it. So I screenshot that and I send it to Bill. I'm going to have to let Bill know I'm talking about this. Yeah. I sent it to Bill and I was like, Bill, this is literally what you just talked about. And he's like, yes. He's like, keep in mind, if they used Sales Navigator, sometimes it doesn't show up that they viewed it. He's like, but I guarantee that person doesn't respond. But they did. I said, I'm curious what impressed you, because I noticed that you didn't even view my profile. Are you thinking of someone else? ? And they replied, good on them, I guess, because they didn't have to. They replied and they said, well, based on the 1 or 2 lines I read in the preview, I figured that we'd be great to learn more about each other. And it's just, I just felt that ickiness through the computer screen. Like I had to take a shower afterwards. It was weird. And there's a lot of that. And at the same time, I love what you're saying. And I'm curious to know, because we're connecting with these people, and this is important, I think. We're not just connecting with them just because we want to meet new people and make new friends, right? We pay for a membership on LinkedIn so that we can prospect. We are prospecting. We're just doing it in a better way.
Yeah.
So when you connect with this person now, hey, I'm curious how you made this gap from this industry to this industry, or whatever other way you personalize it to start that conversation. How do you then transition to the sale? Because it's great. You can meet them, talk with them, connect with them, you hear some problems. Okay.
Mhm.
How do you connect to the sale? Because we can't deny that in the back of our mind, we are doing this to pay the bills and sleep indoors, right? That's the
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah.
So how do you go about that? What's your thought process there?
So, well, one, we used our trust formula to um, enhance that relationship. But we also, it is one, before you leave a conversation, you might not talk about your products or service on the first call. Sometimes, depending on what you're selling, they might bring it up and not you. So the customer might transition to that for you because they'll have read your profile. And if they're of the curious nature, they'll say, just curious, you know, you work with a company selling from the heart. What is it exactly that you're doing? So sometimes the customer actually will do the hard work for you.
Mm,
Sometimes you need to ask for the next step. Always, always leave a conversation with a next step.
mm,
Even if you have to ask the client, what do you feel the best next step would be?
hmm.
Let them answer it. Like even when I'm networking, I want to know about you. I don't want to sit there and I call them walking brochures. I don't want to be a walking brochure. And all you're doing is talking about all the legalese and the high level of what you do and how amazing you are and all the awards that your company has won. That turns people off.
Yeah.
You know, hey, Brandon, how did you get into the business that you're in? Out of all the different businesses out there, what attracted you to said business that person might be in? That's how you're going to begin that relationship. Then if you're in a networking event and if that person is brought up correctly, they'll say, well, just curious, how did you get involved in your company?
Mm,
Well, now you're talking about your business
you're right.
and what you can do. So you can do that whether you're networking, whether you're on LinkedIn, whether you're face to face, whether you're on Zoom, because most people go, oh, you're back face to face. Well, news shocker, Zoom is face to face.
Yes.
You don't get to see the whole body, but most people, I still talk with my hands, whether I'm on Zoom or not. I still act the same on Zoom as I would in person. That's another tip that I also tell people on LinkedIn, because at first I had a hard time with that. I send messages as if that person is standing right in front of me.
Mm,
So if I'm on LinkedIn, I'm going, what would I say to that person if they were actually standing in front of me? And that's how I do my messaging, is I imagine that they're in front of me, because then it feels more tangible and real, as opposed to I'm just throwing things out into the great beyond.
yes. It's powerful. And we know that we're coming from a place of we want to help this person during this conversation, even if it's a networking conversation. It,
Yeah.
it could be our ideal client on the other end of that call. They might be a decision maker, right? So when we ask them about their struggles and what they're facing in their role and what they could see a solution being, all those questions, which I do want to ask you too. I want to ask you so many things. We don't have all day, so I will summarize it. How do we ask for someone's struggles from a place of truly caring, but also help convey to the person on the other end of the Zoom call or the conversation that we are asking because we care, not just because we want to make a sale? Because if they look at your LinkedIn profile, they're going to see that you are a sales coach, a trainer, all those things. And when you start asking them, hey, what struggles are you experiencing in the role that you're in right now in today's landscape, in today's sales world? what I wouldn't want to happen is for that person's brain to be like, oh, here they go. They're going into sales mode. They're going to hear a struggle. They're going to offer a solution. Do you have a way of going about that to where it's known that you truly care about that person on the other end of the conversation?
Well, one, again, your energies are going to tell that person, even though people don't pay attention to that because they really don't, you still feel it. Everyone has walked into a room and going, oh my gosh, you can cut the tension with a knife. So those are just all energies. So you can tell if there's an energy shift in when the conversation changes. But it's almost taking what you said earlier, Brandon, and just adding to it. Hey, Q4 is coming up. What are some of the challenges that you are thinking that you're going to be facing in Q4? And is there anything that I could do to help take any of those off your plate? So, and that's you're coming from a place of I want to serve. Because in essence, that's what we're doing in sales. Not servicing. You service a car, you service a washer and dryer, you service your air conditioning unit. We're trying to serve our clients and prospects and putting them in a better place than where we found them.
Wow. I mean, guys, when you're listening to this, if you just rewind for this whole social piece, especially the social media piece, you have a game plan now to prospect, to reach out to your ideal client, search them, send a connection request, personalize the connection request, right? Even if it is just with a message like, hey, would love to join your network. Thank you, Brandon. And then if they connect, then send them a real personalized message based on what you see on their profile. Schedule the call, right, to meet them. And like what you just said, you have to truly be coming from a place not of desperation, not of wanting to make a sale, but from a mindset of, I want to serve this person. I know I have the solutions that can help them. I know I have the mindset that can serve them, right? So the mindset and the way that we think about this comes first, because like you said, it's not that they're actively thinking about the energy on the call,
Right.
but you walk into that room and you feel it, right? You sit down with that specific salesperson or specific anybody, and you immediately know whether you like that person's presence or not. Like when we first met, we immediately connected. And I meet with people on Zoom where that is not the case. Not often where there's a tension there, but you definitely feel the authenticity from the people who are truly coming from a place of good.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with your clients, guys. If you come from a place of desperation and you ask about struggles, it's not even the way that you said it or the words, it's the vibe of the feeling. Even thousands of miles apart, different continents having a Zoom call, you feel that. So work on your vibe before you even join that conversation.
Can I give you a good example that whether you've been a parent or are a parent or have been the child of a parent? So, and it's also ties in with those first questions that you ask. So if you walk into your parents' house one day and you see your mom, your dad, hey mom, hey dad, and just have a conversation, everything is light and airy and there's no problem interacting. Now, say you just backed into someone else's car.
Mm.
And now you have to tell your parents that you did that. Now your energy walking into the house and how you're going to begin that conversation is now a struggle. And that's how salespeople walk in, is that you can feel that intensity, that energy, the how in the heck am I going to tell them this?
Yeah.
So, and then you're still your parents, situation's still the same, except you now have this thing, okay, I have something I need to tell them. And that's how salespeople walk into an appointment with that. Oh my gosh, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? How am I going to bring up my stuff? When am I going to talk about me? And that's why there's you have to overcome objections, you have to do this, you have to do that, and all of these different processes to get around all that energy.
Wow.
Make sense?
That's a picture perfect example. A huge example, because their reality is the same. When you walk in the house, when you didn't hit their car, their reality is the same. When you do hit the car and you walk in, their reality is the same. They haven't received the news yet, right? Only you know. And because you know, you've got that vibe about you, you've got that sense and feeling about you, and then you bring that vibe into their world, right?
Right. And you know one of your parents is going, "What happened?"
Yes.
Before you even say a word, you went, "What'd you do?"
Yeah.
Like
It's
they
like
just knew.
you look at the person across from you and you're like, oh, what's he going to sell me? This is not good. Like you can just tell right after they say hello. So it's working on raising your vibration and coming from a place of caring. And if you're saying, I do come from a place of caring, I am working on myself daily to raise my vibration, I want to help people, then it's very likely that you do. But if you're listening and you're saying, well, I kind of have been coming off a bit needy, a bit like I want to just tell them about me, sell my services. If you know, you know, right? But again, you don't know what you don't know. So what you said at the very beginning is super powerful. And we won't dive into it because I want to ask you the one specific question after this. But I think what you said was very important. If you don't know what vibe you're giving off, go to your clients right now, because I guarantee you have some, maybe not the most, especially if you're giving off that vibe that you don't want to give off, but ask them. Ask the client. Let your clients teach you, like what you mentioned at the very beginning. Ask them, how did you feel during our first conversation? Because let's face it, some clients just buy because they want the solution that you're offering, not necessarily because they love you as a person. You might have a commodity that they just want, and you're the first person to reach out to them. Ask them, how did you feel during that conversation? How did you feel during the fulfillment? How did you feel afterwards throughout the relationship that we've been building? And say, and I'd like you to be super honest, because I'm using this feedback to make myself better so that I can serve you better and serve future clients better. Go back to each of your clients and ask that question. So I think it's brilliant how you brought that up earlier, Jackie.
Thank you. So what you're doing in essence is what our trust formula is. It is authentic relationships. You're adding meaningful value. So those are added. So it's so and they can go in reverse, just like a true math equation. You can bring your customer meaningful value to create that authentic relationship, or you can start with an authentic relationship by bringing meaningful value.
Mm.
Multipliers are inspirational experience. How do you think my clients felt when I went back to them? It made them feel super important. You know, when you ask them, how would you like our follow up to be? And of course, you
Oh,
never say follow up. I can hear my friend Liz Wendling just
what
having
would you say then?
um, instead of I'm following up with you.
Yeah.
Well, when I'm talking to them, like say I just sold a product, you know, say it's important for me to stay in contact with my clients to make sure that their needs are taken care of. What is the process you would like me to, would you like me to email you? How often would you like me to email you? You know, because I want to follow the cadence that you would like
Mm-hmm.
and not just the one that I think would be good for you.
I love that. I've never heard that said like that before.
Yeah. So then, and that, then you're, so that's your inspirational experience. So you're multiplying your authentic relationship and meaningful value. You're multiplying that by inspirational experience and disciplined habits. So you have to have disciplined habits to keep your pipeline full. So you
Yes.
continue to build the relationship. And most salespeople, they look at their clients. So say you're my client, Brandon, they just look at you. I look at you going, you have an entire sphere of influence. Who else like you? You've been a great client. I would love to have about 10 more people just like you. Who do you know that I could also serve like I have you?
Mm.
So it's just a different way of asking for referrals. But you've already built that relationship. So when they connect you, you already have that one part of the relationship built.
Yeah. It's incredible how we've practically covered an entire sales process in this conversation.
Yes.
Like really, we've covered the cold outreach, we've covered building the relationship, We've talked about offering the services and how to go about that, the maintaining that relationship through connecting with them after the fact, and the referrals. Like, I've never gone through a process like that in 40 minutes with anybody in my life. So that's a superpower. That's
Thank you.
amazing. So
It's really not hard if you look at it as I'm helping another human being.
Mhm.
Everything just falls into play.
Yes, it's so true.
Mhm.
So with your 2.5 decades of sales experience, all right,
Make me sound so old.
you surely have one thing that stands above the rest when it comes to principles or laws of sales success. So I'm curious, and I did give you a heads up before this conversation. I will just let everyone know because I don't want to throw a cold at people. What would you say is your number one law of sales success throughout your copious years of experience?
Ethics and integrity. When I That's why I couldn't follow suit with some of the processes that I was being told, because my reputation and my name was more important to me than a quick sale. Because, that doesn't go away. Having someone talk bad about you can go through the world like wildfire, and it's not worth it. So keeping high integrity and high ethics, that is the way to go for me.
I want to take that a step further and assume that one person listening might be saying, I currently work with an organization who teaches and coaches on a sales process that doesn't feel authentic to me. And I feel that it's out of integrity for what I believe integrity is based on what we just talked about. Have you ever in your career left somewhere or had to deal with this yourself where the morals didn't align with the values of the organization? And what did you do?
I followed my intuition. I stayed with the company because the company itself was good. The products that I sold were awesome because I'm not that type that can sell something I don't believe in. I have to believe in it. But I stayed true to who I am. They didn't have to like it, but my sales were there, so they kept me. I built the relationships. I had repeat customers. So I stayed true to who I am despite what I was being taught and told what to do.
Hmm.
You will go much further in life and your bank account will go much further in life. Your client base will stay if you stay true to who you are and follow that process.
That's powerful stuff,
Thank you.
really, because a lot of people would say, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go somewhere else where they do appreciate me and the way I do things. But it's one thing to do that. It's another thing to get results using your own method and then display those results and say, how can you ask me to do this when the results I'm getting are this?
Mhm.
But if your process isn't getting results, that's a different thing entirely,
Yeah.
because then maybe your process itself needs some work. But I love that law of sales success, the idea that ethics and integrity stand above all else. That's
Which
great.
is why also I connected so highly with the selling from the heart, because my vision in the world is I want to help. Nothing happens in any industry unless something is sold. Even though the person might not, a doctor, he's technically in sales.
Mm,
Got to sell you on that surgery. So everybody is in sales. Not everybody looks at themselves in sales.
mm.
But salespeople are the least trusted people. And I want to help bring people that, back in Dale Carnegie's day, sales was a great profession to be in.
Oh yeah.
Now you tell someone you're in sales, you might as well have told them you have COVID or something worse because they look at you like, why in the heck would you want to be in
They're
sales?
like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Right. But oh my gosh, the changes that you can make in people's lives,
Yeah.
you know, but again, it's a mind shift change of I'm not just selling a thing, transactional, I am putting someone in a better place. I even went so far, and I think I shared this with you before, is surrounding myself with my competition. If I knew my product that I was selling wasn't going to help them to the immense degree that they needed to, then I surrounded myself with people that I trusted that were my competition, that going, you'd be better served here.
Mm-hmm.
Even with selling from the heart, I did that recently. There was a client that I had, I could help them probably 75%. But my friend who's also in coaching, it was really her niche. So I introduced them. This
Yeah.
is where you need to be. And people go, well, you're walking away from commission. I said, am I? Who do you think that client is going to refer?
Yeah.
She might have done the work for them, but I was the one that put them in a better place.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to look to me to put them in a better place again if they need me. And their friends and family, they want their friends and family in the best place. So who are they going to refer?
Yeah. Just like you and I. Technically, we are competition. Even
Absolutely.
Bill, I was at Bill's event and he's like, technically, I'm training the competition here. Right. And kind of, because we serve the same types of people, but we serve them in different ways. Like you'll serve them in relationship selling and the trust formula and authenticity. Can I train on those things? Yes, but maybe 10% of what you would be able to train those people on. Me, I focus on my lane of peak performance, of helping them become their best selves, reach their full potential, because I know that that will help them be more authentic. It will help them serve people. But once they're performing at their peak, that's when they can take what you're doing and apply it at full force. So while we're competition, I still want to talk to you and I want to hear your viewpoint, and I'll have you on the show and I'll do all those things because I learn. But also, you can't know enough people in your space to see how they're doing things and the way that they do them, so that, again, you can serve people at the highest power possible. Because if someone wants something that's specifically to trust and relationships and authenticity, I'm not going to serve that client. I'm going to refer you in, and that'll make me look good because the client's like, wow, Brandon referred us to the perfect people. They took great care of us. Selling from the heart's amazing. So it's a win-win. It's a win-win-win. Win for you, win for the client, win for me. Everyone wins, right?
And people don't look at it like that. Like, just take our Selling from the Heart podcast. Every week, we are technically interviewing, not me, because Daryl and Larry do it.
Yeah.
But they're interviewing our competition every single week, technically.
Mm-hmm.
But no one steps on each other's toes because we all have that specific niche that we bring to the sales teams.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful thing when you think about it that way. We're all here to help. There's plenty of business to go around. And we're all here to help each other get better.
Mm-hmm. I love ice cream. And I think the most boring ice cream place to go to would be going to a place that only serves vanilla ice cream.
Vanilla. Unless you're golfing, having a vanilla swing and getting that's a good thing. But
yes, I want all the flavors, 100 flavors or more, right? Just
you got to have sprinkles.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So you have a very exciting event coming up in Fort Worth, right?
Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay. Can you tell us, so the name of this event, guys, it's in person, which is incredible for those craving to get out there, right? The name of this event is the Breakthrough Sales Leader Retreat. It's on October 20th in Fort Worth, Texas. So can you tell us a bit about this retreat coming up and what people can hope to take away from it?
So we're going to be talking about the mindset, the skill set, and the tool set. We're going to teach you how to recruit top talent, because this specific retreat is for sales leaders, CROs, which is chief revenue officers, chief sales officers, VPs of sales, presidents, and owners. So we're going to teach you how to not only recruit top talent, but retain top talent, because that is very difficult in today's settings. To get your team refocused on growth and re-energize and build momentum for your team for the remainder of the year, you'll actually walk away with a 100-day sales breakthrough plan. Talk with other like-hearted leaders. You'll have the time to network. So there we have so much that's packed in. It's on October 20th. Come in on the 19th because we'll have a reception so everyone can get to know each other. And then it's going to be a jam-packed day on the 20th with it will really set you up for a great fourth quarter into 2023.
That's amazing.
So I am like super excited. We'll all be in person.
Mm-hmm.
And although Zoom is really a great thing because it has kept us connected, there's nothing like being in person.
Yeah.
There's just something about, I'm a hugger. So getting that hug and really getting to know someone face to face and their energies. So I'm like super stoked for it.
That's going to be so cool. I'm so excited to hear how it goes, see all the photos, all that jazz. Where can one go to learn more about this event and enroll and sign up for this
If you
event?
go to sellingfromtheheart.net, we have it right across the top of our page. I'll also, let me put that in the private chat for you.
Okay, very cool. So guys, I'll have in the chat box in the description below, wherever you're watching and listening, the link for you to go check out the Breakthrough Sales Leader Retreat. I'm also going to have a link below so that you can connect with Jackie on LinkedIn because she does a lot of great things on LinkedIn. Connect with her there, start a conversation with her there, right? There's so many different ways she can help you, but even if you just learn more about each other, right? That would be a great opportunity for everyone involved. So those links are below. And Jackie, I feel like I've been talking to you for hours now. I can't believe we talked about all that we've talked about here today. So I thank you for sharing your wisdom, sharing your experience. And like we've been talking about the whole time, the vibe is just electric. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me on.
Absolutely.
So we can all be better.
That's right. Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
Whether you are looking for ways to start a conversation with cold outreach, to build and nurture an existing relationship with a client, to begin that relationship, to follow up, to get referrals, to start the social media aspect of things. And truly, I think the biggest takeaway for me from this conversation was, in order to do any of the above that I just mentioned, your mindset has to be there, but not just your mindset, your heart set. Right? It has to come from a place of you are selling and serving from the heart, which is the organization that Jackie works with. Right now, we've talked with Jackie Joy. We talked with Bill McCormick. We're going to talk to Larry Levine soon, later this month. But no matter what stage or what kind of company you're in or what kind of sales professional you are, this conversation with Jackie was full of gold nuggets that you can use and apply immediately in your business. I hope you took something away. If you did, please share this show with just one other person who could use this information as well. Be sure to check out the Breakthrough Sales Leader Retreat on October 20th. Get there on the 19th. The links are in the description to check out more information on that event, and be sure to go and connect with Jackie as well. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better.